Hey peeps, I'm back. It is the 4th of July, 2021. The ice cream man is driving around outside. I don't know if you can hear that. So summer is here, and I'm here to do another video. I'm going to do another Skinny Puppy video today because there's been so much positive feedback about the rabies video I did. I'm sort of just throwing shit at the wall. I don't really think too hard about these videos. I'm just feeling inspired by certain albums and then I want to talk about them, and so that's what I do. The Skinny Puppy video, however, has gotten a lot of traction, a lot of positive feedback, a lot of comments, a lot of views for me. And I can talk about Skinny Puppy all day. And I've had a lot of requests for more Skinny Puppy videos. So I'm planning on maybe just going through all of their albums, at least the albums from the 80s. Those are the ones I know about the most. Everything post Too Dark Park, which I'm going to talk about today, I don't have a ton of experience with. I do know Last Rites pretty well, but Too Dark Park is the last Skinny Puppy album that I feel like I'm a relative expert on. So I'm going to talk about that one today. But thanks a lot for everyone watching the rabies video. I really appreciate it. You guys have been awesome, and your comments have been very insightful. You've given me some information I wasn't aware about. Definitely people had some sticking points with Warlock and whether or not Al Jorgensen produced it. I always assumed he did, but the vast majority of people seem to think that he didn't, so that's cool. I love being corrected on things when I don't know things, so that was awesome. Anyway, yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Again, I'm just sort of experimenting here. I talk about music and records as they come, so I don't put a ton of thought into this. But if you guys want more Skinny Puppy videos, I've got the records and I know the music pretty well, so I'm gonna keep doing it. Again, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. And in terms of Skinny Puppy, they were a big band for me back then. Again, I was a kid in the 80s for the most part. So they hit me at a really formative age. I think I was 16 or 17 when Rabies came out. So those are the years where you're really, trying to figure out what's going on with music, and you're listening to all the old stuff, but then you're trying to make sense of the new stuff and technology. And, the late 80s and early 90s was a groundbreaking time for music, in my opinion, in terms of tech. So that's where the majority of these records come from. I've either bought them or I've received them through various record pools. When you're a DJ, the record labels themselves will send you records to, for promotional purposes in the hopes that you will play them in the clubs. Sometimes if you can prove that you DJ in several clubs, they'll send you several copies of a record so you can keep one record at each location you DJ at. So a lot of these records I have 4, 5, even 10 copies of because I was DJing like a maniac back in the 90s. So I just have a lot of records. And unlike a lot of people, I've hung on to the stuff that I really enjoy. I've sold a lot of stuff. Some things I regret selling. But for the most part, I've hung on to all the stuff that means a lot to me. So anyway, I don't want to go on too long about that, but that's how I've acquired a lot of these records. So let's get to the music. Too Dark Park. This is the original 1990 US Capitol edition. Very cool cover. Awesome cover, actually, in my opinion. Back cover's just beautiful stuff. Very nice artwork. Unfortunately, the inner sleeve's kind of boring, it's one of those poly sleeves. But as much of a hassle as these are to like handle and touch, and when you put them in, they fold like that, they get all kind of bunched up. You want to see those though. These preserve your vinyl. Those paper sleeves don't. So people don't like these aesthetically, but these are the sleeves you hope to see when you find an old record from the 80s or 90s, because they preserve the record. This copy of Too Dark Park I have, it's like it's brand new. It's like I've never played it. I just played it the other day before I did this video, and it plays like a new record. So as lame and flimsy as they look and feel, you want these. This is vinyl preservation. When you see those paper inner sleeves, yeah, it's already bad news. They are not kind to your vinyl over time. Some of them scuff records right out of the gate. But anyway, not to get too far into the weeds with that. But this is the 1990 issue. I remember, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember buying this on Halloween in 1990. It's my first year at college. I was 18 years old, and I went to the record store to buy this, and my girlfriend was with me, and she said, "That's a perfect cover for Halloween." And she's right. I don't know if that was strategic marketing too with Skinny Puppy, if they planned that. But the way I remember it, this got released on Halloween. Maybe a day or two later or before, but I remember the week of Halloween this came out. So, yeah, fits right in there. In terms of content for this album, this came out after Rabies, and I remember reading interviews at the time. It was weird. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, Skinny Puppy fans, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I remember it when I read the interviews is that the members of the band in Skinny Puppy, you know, Ogre and Kevin Key and Dwayne Gotel, they liked Rabies at the time. They said they were happy with it and they really enjoyed it, and they didn't have any regrets over having Al Jorgensen involved. But I remember as time passed, they changed their tune on that. Maybe I'm misremembering this, but I remember they liked it at the time and they supported it, and then as time went on, they're like, yeah, we're not so keen on Rabies and blah. Anyway, so when this came out, there was this feeling of like they were getting back to business. There was no outside influence, you know, spreading its influence all over the record like Al did. There are no crunchy guitars on this. This sounds like a Skinny Puppy record, but this is, for me personally, other than Rabies, this is my favorite Skinny Puppy album. The reason for that is it just seemed, in a way, it seemed like the next logical progression past Vivisect 6. Vivisect 6 was before Rabies, and then this after Rabies. Rabies was a brilliant detour, but then this was sort of Skinny Puppy getting back to business. This album is 10 tracks of some really, really excellently produced, inspired music. It has its samples, but it's not as sample heavy as other Skinny Puppy records. It does have the samples, but they're a little more conspicuous. Musically, my only complaint about this record is that the songs are really short. I would have liked some of these. This album would have been a little better if the songs had more space to breathe. They just don't. I don't think there's a single song on here that's over 5 minutes. In fact, I can look. Yeah, we got 3.5, 4.5, 4, 3.5, 4. Yeah, 4:50, almost 5. 3:45, 3:46, 4, and 3. So yeah, it's a pretty brief album. It's 10 tracks, not even 40 minutes long. So again, just a minor quibble about the length there. But this is an excellent album, and it is sort of a response to Rabies in a way. Maybe I'm putting too much of my own personal experience onto that, because I remember when Al came in to do Rabies, that was big news at the time. And so I remember when he wasn't there for this one, it seemed like it was significant news. But this is different than most Skinny Puppy albums in the way that it seems more polished. The songs are very intricately written. They in a lot of ways they hit their creative apex with this album, and I think it mainly shows through in the production and the songwriting. This song, a lot of the songs on here are about the typical things they'd sing about, violence, polluting the planet. In fact, that has a lot of unless I'm completely nuts when I listen to the lyrics on here. The lyrics you can understand. Skinny Puppy lyrics aren't always easy to understand, but there's no lyric sheet in here. All past Skinny Puppy albums would have that. This doesn't. So when you can understand the lyrics, you can hear a lot of influence in terms of polluting the planet, pollution, greenhouse effects, It definitely has a big influence. Like there's a song on here called Shoreline Poison. You know, you could tell that they were focusing on polluting the planet and how it's being destroyed by human interactivity. At any rate, side one on Skinny Puppy it's one of the best side ones they ever did. Probably arguably the best side one of an album they ever did. It starts off with Convulsion, and it has Tormentor, Spasmolytic, which were both singles. I'll get to those in a minute. The singles Tormentor and Spasmolytic were good. They were obvious singles. They were big and they were loud and they were bombastic and they were obvious singles, but not the best songs on the album. In fact, the next three songs are the best songs on the album and some of their best songs they ever did, in my opinion. Rash Reflection, super awesome song, and then Nature's Revenge and Shoreline Poison are after that. Shoreline Poison starts off side two, but Nature's Revenge is amazing. I would, for my money, other than Tin Omen and Warlock, Nature's Revenge is the best song they ever did. Really beautiful stuff. Interesting samples. I'm trying to remember I think the name of the movie. Oh God, somebody help me out here. Christopher Walken. Communion. That's the movie they sample in Nature's Revenge. There's a sample of a woman going, "Are you scared?" And you hear the guy go, "I'm not scared." That's Christopher Walken. The movie's called Communion. It's actually not a very good movie. I think it came out in 1989, I want to say, right around the time this album came out. Not a great movie, but they really manipulate the samples in a spooky way. Especially on that album, or that song, Nature's Revenge. They're singing about Mother Nature, basically. That's how I've always taken the song. Mother Nature coming back and taking care of business and wiping out the planet, i.e. COVID, these types of things that are meant to thin out the herd. That's what this album's about a lot. Pretty much, in my view, that's what this album's about in a lot of ways. And that song is the centerpiece of it, Nature's Revenge. Great song on a great album. The rest of the songs are good. The last four songs on side two they're good. The first six songs, it's just like one hit after another. It's just like boom, 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 boom. It's killer, 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 killer. The last four songs are good, not as powerful. Kind of trickles out at the end a little bit for my tastes, but the foundation of the first six songs affects those last four songs in a really fantastic way, giving you an excellent listening experience all around. And plus you have this great cover. It's just too bad they couldn't have figured out an inner sleeve. But something to keep in mind, this record came out in 1990, and that was 1990 was the last year that U.S. American record companies were printing vinyl in a lot of ways. They were trying to foist this myth that CDs were better, and the American record industry was basically phasing out vinyl. 1991 was the first year they just pretty much stopped making vinyl. Not across the board. They still made vinyl here and there, but not a lot of it. They made more 12 inches rather than albums. They didn't press up a lot of full-length albums. It was mainly 12 inches. And to my knowledge, this is the last mass-produced Skinny Puppy album pressed in the U.S. And I know that I know that Capitol, they've been re-releasing all these Skinny Puppy albums recently, but I don't think this one's been re-released. Or reissued, I don't know why. I mean, this is a great album. I know they did Rabies. I haven't heard that, but why they wouldn't do this, I don't know. I think they've done Last Rites, too. I think they repressed Last Rites. So why they'd skip over this one, I don't know. It's too bad, because this is a great album. But yeah, this, to me, again, this was sort of a response to the Al album. I think Skinny Puppy were eager to get back to business, just the three of them. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I remember, those of you who were around then, there's this magazine called Alternative Press. It was based out of Cleveland, Ohio. And I subscribed to this magazine, and they dedicated a ton of time to industrial music and techno and electronic and just experimental music in general. And they would, every month they'd have some sort of interview with Al Jorgensen or Skinny Puppy or somebody from that group. And that's the way I remember it. They initially loved Rabies, then they didn't love Rabies, and then they couldn't wait to extricate themselves from the whole Rabies experience. And that's what Too Dark Park was. Great album nonetheless. Now this is the first single that came from the album. This is Tormentor. Great single. In fact, the extended version of Tormentor is better than the album version, I think. This also has a dub version of Nature's Revenge. And that is it makes you wonder if they had planned on releasing Nature's Revenge as a single, which would have been cool. That song's begging to be remixed. Then it also has a B-side called Bark here. But yeah, this is a solid 12-inch. It's got, a 7.5 minute remix of Tormentor, then some really solid B-sides. There's the back cover. It's got a promo hole. I got this through one of those DJ pools I was telling you about when I first started DJing. I can remember buying this. You'll see it also has the shrink wrap. Those of you who are relatively new to vinyl collecting, you can the way to do this, to leave the shrink wrap on, you rub this open edge on your pant leg. Lightly. You don't have to rub it so hard you cause a deep gash in your leg or rip the shit out of your pants. Just lightly. If you want to do that, by all means, do it. Make a hole in your pants, rub into your skin. Maybe you can hit bone. Hey, it's up to you, man. But rub this open edge on your pant leg lightly, and then this will open up. And then you can keep the shrink wrap on there, which is nice. And I think this came out on blue vinyl as well. Mine's on black, but it is out on blue vinyl as well. I assume that blue vinyl one is pretty limited. I've never heard the blue vinyl one. I can't speak to its sound quality, but this one on black vinyl is very well pressed. You only have one song on one side and two on the other, so you're never really going much over 10 minutes on either side. So sound quality is excellent. Great single. And then the second and last single from this album is this, Spasmolytic. Another very cool cover. Whoever did the artwork for this, nice work. Here's the back cover. This is an excellent single. I like this even better than the Tormentor single. The extended version of Spasmolytic is, again, better than the album version. Really cool. I want to say it's like 7.5 minutes, like the Tormentor. In fact, let's check. Again, poly sleeve. You gotta love it. Look at it. Love it. Accept it. We've got, how long is that? 7 minutes and 18 seconds of Spasmolytic. See there? Nice long length for a remix. Then you have a remix of Shoreline Poison. Again, one of the best songs on that album, one of the best songs they ever did. We have a remix. The remix is cool. It is kind of like a dub mix. For those who don't know, dub usually means instrumental. It's really all it means. The word dubs formulated and started in the reggae world. Dub records back in the 70s, they'd have the vocal version on one side, then you flip over the 45 and there'd be an instrumental version that they'd call the dub. And that carried over into dance music. So it says remix, it's basically a dub mix of Shoreline Poison. Then we also have Hearthstone White live in Denver. And then Walking on Ice, live excerpts from San Francisco, Dallas, and Oklahoma City. And that's like a 12-minute jam of different live shows. Really good stuff. I really wish there was maybe there is, someone tell me. I wish there was a live album out there, like legit, professionally produced and mastered live album from Skinny Puppy during this period. It's particularly the Rabies tour. I saw them on the Rabies tour, and it was so fucking good. There really needs to be a live album out there of Skinny Puppy from that period. They killed it then. They were so good live. And it should be a video. There needs to be a Blu-ray or DVD included, because a lot of their live shows were theatrics and costumes and special effects. It was really good stuff. So at any rate, these records came out in 1990, and then this followed in 1991. But I think You know, and I haven't looked up the prices of these. I would, I would think that this Too Dark Park, I would have to assume this is probably really expensive. Just the fact they haven't reissued it, and quite frankly, I haven't read great things about those reissues. So I don't know. This wasn't easy to find even then. In fact, this is this is the only copy I've ever seen. So I would guess this is probably isn't easy to find, but I would recommend. This is a great pressing, great mastering. I would highly recommend picking this up if you can come across it, and you need these to accompany it, I think. So, in short, I think Too Dark Park is one of those albums that, after the influence of Al, Skinny Puppy was really eager to get back to business, and they bring it here. You can almost hear it. There's a lot of anger, a lot of passion, a lot of inspiration on this album. It's short, but it's sweet, and it leaves a deep impression. And over the last 30 years that I've been listening to this, I would easily put this at number 2 in terms of Skinny Puppy albums. And in a way, if you consider that Rabies was the Al album, this in some ways is probably the best Skinny Puppy album. This is them, only them, no outside influences. This is it. Lyrically, it's very intense. Musically, it's very inspired, excellently produced. And again, with Shoreline Poison and Nature's Revenge, you're getting a couple of the greatest songs they ever did. I really think that they were at their height right here in terms of inspiration and production quality. I didn't follow them too closely after this. I do like Last Rites. I think I was so preoccupied with rave music at the time, listening to electronic music and techno. I did have a moment there where I just wasn't listening to Skinny Puppy, but Too Dark Park is something that hit me really hard then, and still hits me hard today. If anyone can add anything too in terms of some of the production, some stories behind the production of the album, that would be awesome. I don't know. I can only tell you what I remember offhand. Again, the samples are a little more subtle on Too Dark Park. On Rabies, I'm able to hear, definitely there are tons of samples on that album, like 2001 and Scanners and all kinds of horror movies. Too Dark Park, it's a little more subtle, and that's how the album feels as a whole. It's not as aggressive as some of their other stuff, but lyrically more aggressive, if that makes any sense at all. And it's a little more mysterious too, because it doesn't have that lyric sheet. In the past, they always had a lyric sheet with their albums. With that one, they didn't. So a lot of times, I can't understand what the fuck Ogre is singing. It's all garbled and distorted, and that's what's cool about it. But on Too Dark Park, it's a little more mysterious. It's over time, when I listen to these songs, I still don't really understand what some of the lyrics are. So, but in a way, that's cool. I don't want to know. I don't know. That lends to the mysteriousness of it. Letting the listener apply their own personal experience onto it, which I think is very important. I don't always like things explained to me. In fact, it's kind of fun to not have that, and you get that here. You get it in spades. Skinny Puppy, y'all. This is a great album. Go find it if you can.